What ministers learn when they are in ministerial school is that there is a great deal of squishiness in the titles we give our talks, and that no two ministers will give the same talk with under the same title. I have never, in my experience speaking, actually had to change a title. You get to be among the first with me. When I began looking at the divine feminine as my topic, I was wondering, because in this 21st century, gender has become more nuanced. Gender expressions and descriptions aren't limited to the binary choice of male, female. There are an amazing range of possibilities which include acknowledging gender fluidity. Given so much change in how we label ourselves and others, I found myself uncomfortable, stuck with a topic that reflected the binary. And before I show you what my new topic is, it is going to change. I want you all to know that the change in no way minimizes the role of the divine feminine. What I am doing is broadening our conversation. So here is my topic for today: the divine in all. And as I explore that topic, I'm going to draw a great deal upon the wisdom of the divine feminine. Because what we need to do today is acknowledge each of our unique identities, see it, hear it, and then understand that it is a part of this amazing, diverse oneness of spirit in human form. It takes all kinds of differences to complete the oneness. Let me say that again. It takes all kinds of differences to complete the oneness. I'm mainly going to talk about gender today because I'm trying to stay at least vaguely within my topic. But I want to share a couple of stories before I dive more deeply into that. The first goes back a few years when I was dating a delightful African-American cable car driver. And I still miss him now and then. One evening we were making dinner for some friends, and I was scraping carrots. Al looked at me and asked me what the heck I was doing. And I said that my grandmother had told me that peeling carrots wasted too much food, so she taught me how to just scrape off the outside bit of the carrot. Al was shocked because his view of a white person was not someone who cared about wasting food. That was not his stereotype of white folks. Here's another example based upon social expectations. You're probably not surprised if I tell you that I was a kind of shy, nerdy person in high school. And I had a few friends, all of whom were also nerds like me, very much outsiders, not at all part of the cool in-group. And then when I was a junior, I met someone who became my boyfriend. He was on the swim team and he was really popular. Suddenly, the popular kids started noticing me and telling me how cool I was. I had not changed one bit. But because I had a boyfriend, their perception of me, their expectations about me had changed. So those are two ways that we assume we know who people are based upon the outer experience. We've all grown up with gender stereotypes and cultural stereotypes and all kinds of stereotypes. I invite you for a moment into an experience. You don't have to share anything of what comes up with you at all. I also invite you, when I explain the experience, please don't overthink it. Please don't go to the politically correct response. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Close your eyes, and as I say certain words, what picture of the person comes to your mind? What do you see when I say this word? Voter, firefighter, parent, scientist, electrician, nurse, professor, spouse. If you're like me, you drew from your experience and your expectations, at least partly based upon the family and the culture you grew up in. This exploration highlights why recognizing differences like gender expression matters. There is a richness in the differences, the infinite ways in which the one takes form. And if we have a picture, firefighters are all women, then we don't see the men in that role, or we see them as the oddities. The same with any other group of people. There's a way in which we have to label and limit what we see because we can't take in everything. But if our assumptions are too strong, Tara's a straight A student, she's not cool. Oh, Tara has a boyfriend, she's cool. In neither of those cases were the other students really seeing me. They were seeing what they expected. And the challenge to us as religious scientists is to see the oneness. Here's what Ernest Holmes has to say. By expanding our understanding of the nature of God, we can see those aspects of ourselves and others until we are fully immersed in the oneness that we are. Notice that he's not ignoring all the differences. He is seeing the aspects of ourselves and others, and by seeing those different elements and variety and richness, we move into an awareness of oneness. Oneness is not sameness. Oneness is a rich variety that has under it the underpinning that each one of us is an expression of the divine. Yesterday, I was honored to be a part of the Welcoming Team's orientation and training. And in that training, we looked at the Welcoming Team's vision of why they exist. Our vision is that everyone who enters the center for any reason feels at home, safe, acknowledged, loved, and a sense of belonging. That everyone who enters our center, as we say as Science of Mind folks, is recognized and acknowledged as an expression of the divine, unique and perfect. Man, woman, gender fluid, trans, old, young, able or not, every one of us makes up that sacred, rich, infinite one. So that's the point of the change in my title. That I didn't want to be caught in, this is feminine And this is all I want to talk about. You'll hear about a woman's perspective in a different area, but I don't want any of us to feel like who we are is not also a part of the conversation. In our conversation about this vision, different people who were there let us know which of those words resonated the most for them. I was surprised that many of them pointed out the importance of acknowledgement, of being acknowledged. And what that meant to them was what I've been saying, being seen and heard, feeling like they mattered. That before anything else, before any of those other elements, to be seen and heard was what really mattered. Folks also talked about a sense of feeling at home, a sense of being safe in this community, and also about the infinite power of love. But first and foremost, being seen and heard and recognized as someone that matters. I'm going to make a little pause for a paid or unpaid announcement. A few months back, I discovered a book called A Hidden Wholeness by Parker Palmer. And it talks about how to create circles of trust, circles where people feel like it is safe enough that they can actually speak about what matters deep in their souls without being fixed, without being changed, without being argued with, without being advised. Their souls are acknowledged just the way they are. If that's something you would like to learn more about, come join us next Monday, tomorrow, at 5 o'clock. I'd be delighted to see you in the circle. Now, back to work. All of us have both masculine and feminine qualities within us, expressed in different ways and in different levels. Until recently, our culture absolutely looked at men and women, and each of those two binary groups had ways they were supposed to be. So that we looked with some lack of ease at men expressing feminine qualities or at women expressing masculine qualities, forgetting that we are in fact whole, having elements of both of those in all of us. Thanks to especially our young people, we're no longer caught in that trap of either this or that. We get to choose how we express our gender in the world. And for some of us, that even can vary from day to day. Welcome the children that sometimes want to dress like a boy, sometimes want to dress like a girl, and know that they are being who they are in that moment. And honor them the same way you want to be honored for being exactly who you are, moment to moment to moment. We seek to acknowledge people, to let them know they are safe, they are seen, they are heard, they matter, and they are loved and belong. That's a goal not just for our welcoming team. I invite us into that goal for all of us. So a part of this new way of looking at gender is that we're paying more attention to pronouns. I am about to turn 70. And when I think about referring to a person as they, a part of me goes, but that's not grammatical. And then I Googled, and I found out that they was being used for individual people way back in the 1300s, and in many different ways. And in fact, thou was preferred for singular, and then it became they. So I invite us all who grew up before the time of this rich acknowledgement of variety to explore recognizing what our preferred pronouns are. For me, it's she, her, and hers. For someone else I know, it is they, them, and theirs. Simply who we are, moment to moment to moment. Here's what a writer on the internet has to say about why it matters what pronouns you use. Sure, it might feel a little uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to thinking about gender identity as distinct from a person's biological sex. Ultimately, though, normalizing the practice of sharing or asking about pronouns helps build a more supportive and inclusive environment for intersex, transgender, and non-binary people. It lets those folks know that you see them and respect them for who they are. See them and respect them for who they are. There are many ways of approaching the qualities of the divine that are feminine. Often qualities like patience, connection, intuition, and connection came up. This morning, as I do tap a bit into feminine wisdom, I want to take us into the business world, a place where we don't normally or always think of femininity or the feminine showing up. In the late 1980s, Sally Helgesen wrote a book called The Female Advantage, and in it she explored what was different about how women business owners and corporate leaders worked in their companies. She ended up interviewing the woman who founded The Body Shop, which was, and I think still is, a millions of dollars international company. Here's what Anita Roddick, who was the founder, had to say about the feminine principles on which her business was based. First and foremost, caring, making intuitive decisions, not getting hung up on hierarchy or boring business school ideas. All those shoulds and how it's supposed to be's. Having a sense of work as being part of your life, not separate from it. Putting your labor or your work where your love is. Being responsible to the world in how you use your profits, and recognizing that the bottom line should stay at the bottom. I know that not all of us are active in the business world. I suggest that these principles actually are relevant in whatever areas we do things, whether that's parenting, retirement, relationship, volunteering. There's a point at which it's important to take on this feminine and masculine inner intuition, connection, awareness of the values and what matters to create a balance and a wholeness in your life. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper with some of what Helgesen had to say about the differences she saw between male and female leaders in business. Well, I think I am. Okay, there we go. So, and listen to these, looking at whatever it is that you spend your most time doing If it isn't work, where are you investing most of your time? The women worked at a steady pace with small breaks scheduled throughout the days. Take a breath, look at the garden, pause to recenter yourself. The women did not view unscheduled tasks and encounters as interruptions. It used to be that having an office with a closed door was a sign of status. Now an open office where ideas are exchanged and people are welcome to come in are as important, if not more important, than that closed door solitude. The women made time for activities not directly related to the work, especially children or families. Notice what matters to you, what your heart yearns to connect with, and make sure that's part of your daily program. Like the men, the women preferred face-to-face encounters, but they scheduled, that word didn't fit up there, they scheduled time for their mail and now email. What caught my attention is, it's not every time the phone beeps or the desktop rings and tells you you have an email or a text or whatever. There are times of the day when you commit to reviewing what's going on the internet, and then you set it aside and you dive fully present into something else without this, oh, I've got to do that right now. Oh, I've got to do that right now. Because that's reaction. It's not response. A little bit more as I'm marching along here. Lots of relationships outside of work or outside of whatever it is you give most of your time to. Friends and significant relationships improve health, improve wellness and longevity, improve happiness. This is a very jargon-filled bit. What it basically means is, don't just pay attention to what's urgent and in your face. Notice what your longer-term goals and intentions are, and make sure that you're giving them some of your precious time. Even though they're not urgent, they are important. We're not just our work, we're not just our gender, we're not just our age or anything else. We are beautiful, complex, diverse even within ourselves. Let's claim that. Let's claim that. And finally, and maybe this one is even more relevant now and has become possible, it used to be that people who had information had power. Oh, I'm going to just keep this little bit of information I discovered to myself, and then I'll be the hero when the next staff meeting comes up. We've now recognized that that may have created a false sense of power, but when information is distributed and shared, you bring in that diverse oneness. You have people with different backgrounds, different insights, different ways of doing things who collaborate to create a better result than the person who holds everything to herself and figures it all out by herself without being bothered by other people's ideas. So this sharing and delegating is a delightful strategy for all kinds of things. Here's a little summary. Quick summary. Relationships, relationships, relationships. Family and other values in your life matter. Make time for them. And share information. Collaborate, because it enriches everyone, including the result of your working together. So, I've now invited you to look at differences as a way of enriching your life, acknowledging who you are, and enriching the lives of those around you by recognizing and appreciating who they are, not who you think you or they should be, not how you think you or they should act, but truly from the core of your essence, that divine spark that is within absolutely all of us. I'm going to close with a brief reading from Thomas Merton, who might very well have been reflecting on the divine feminine. There is within all things an inexhaustible sweetness and purity, a silence that is a fount of action and joy. It rises up in wordless gentleness and flows out to me from the unseen roots of all created being, welcoming me tenderly, saluting me with indescribable humility. So join me, if you would, in prayer. There is only one, rich in infinite varieties of expression, creativity, ideas, forms, all beyond limit, beyond assumption, beyond whatever we thought we knew. That one is beauty, love, power, joy, creativity, wisdom, grace, and so much more. Called by many names, it speaks with each of us and expresses through every one of us. No exceptions. As I recognize this divine spark that is within each one of us, I know for this community, and I know for the community beyond its walls, a deeper awareness of the gifts of variation, of variety, of uniqueness, all underpinned by the one divine source that is all life. I know in this deepening awareness, this powerful love, all is well. We are given what we need, we are guided in what is ours to do, and we celebrate who we are. In deep gratitude for this awareness, in deep gratitude for the way that Spirit works in, through, and as us all, I release this word into the law and into the power of love, knowing it done. And so it is.